Okay, take 3.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday night OWCP Chats with Chris and Gini. And of course, we have a mess up for the first of the year.
First episode of 2025, and we're having technical difficulties. Sorry about that. We need our boy Robert here. That would probably help.
Yeah, we don't know what happened, but this is what happens when now we are live, yes.
All right, we actually made it live. Good.
Okay, so it's not connecting.
So anyways, we are Chris and Gini with Wednesday night OWCP Chats, and we teach OWCP. And if you haven't been here before, welcome. Tell your friends, follow the page.
Yes.
And share it with everybody because we're teaching you the valuable lessons you need to know for if you get hurt at work for a federal agency, which happens way too often in the federal workforce.
Yes. So you can find us on Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook. You can come here to break federal injury centers. You can find us on Wednesday night OWCP Chats. You can find us on Breaking OWCP, and you can also find us on my personal page, Sarojini Helms. So now that we're
did you mention the podcast?
And we have a podcast.
The Breaking OWCP podcast
with Chris and Gini.
Yeah, so you can find that Breaking OWCP podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts, and this is really helpful, especially for people on the West Coast, because they get to hear our chats while they're driving around in their vehicles during the day, the next day while they're working. Keep your eye on the road. Don't get in wrecks. Listen to Wednesday night OWCP Chats.
And I know we were off for about 2 months total. We decided to take a break because we needed a break, and you guys were working about 16-hour shifts. A lot of you, whether you were an AFGE or a USPS or any other federal agency, we know what the holidays can do.
And you are the hardest working people in America, and we are the hardest working people in OWCP, so we deserve a break, and now you do too.
Yes, so welcome to 2025 Wednesday night OWCP Chats with Chris and Gini.
So in one of the last 2 attempts at starting this recording live, I said a few things. I'll try to remember those again and say them right now.
So we want to let you guys know, those of you that are new and following us, who we are. Why are we always on this every Wednesday, and why are we so important, and why we're always posting to this page?
Well, I don't know that we're important, but it's important to you. Definitely important to you because nobody else teaches OWCP the way we do. Your unions have OWCP folks, and we are grateful for them because there's never going to be enough OWCP educators out there. But we just do it differently. We try to have fun with it. If you can see, this is the NCAA college football playoff version of Wednesday night chats.
Let's go Longhorns.
Hook 'em horns is what they say.
I know that. I was going to say that.
So again, I'm Chris. I'm from Texas. We live in Florida. She's from Utah, and she's learning Texas. We've been together for nearly 10 years, and she still hasn't fully learned Texas, and that's why she said whatever that nonsense was.
Well, I'm not going for the Longhorns. I'm going for Matthew McConaughey because he is a professor at the university.
Can you imagine sitting through a class of McConaughey? I mean, even me, I'd be like, yeah, I'm paying attention, but I don't know what you're saying.
I would die.
And me, I'm a lifelong Notre Dame fan, and so this is the best season our team has had, not in my lifetime, because 87 was fantastic when they won the championship, but since then. And so we're really excited, and so we thought we would just sort of celebrate that tonight.
Yep, because tomorrow we're going to be going watching the Notre Dame game.
Well, not live. We're going to
we're just going to go to a little restaurant and go have some fun.
Yeah, okay. So that's who we are. We're glad you're here. If you're a federal employee, you're in the right place because inevitably you're going to either get hurt or know, 5 people that will. And when you don't have this knowledge, then your life turns into hell with OWCP because it's terrible. Your supervisors treat you terribly. The system seems to be built with confusion made into it. And the pain of the system is often far worse than the pain of the injury.
Yes.
And our goal is to take that particular part of the pain away from you by educating you on what to do when you get hurt at work. So if you're somebody that needs that, you're in the right place.
Yes. So welcome. So tonight what we wanted to do, we just wanted to start brand new, fresh. That those of you that do know us, and again, all the new people that started following us as of last year, we're close to 18,000 followers, and we're so excited. We don't get
2.8 million federal employees.
We don't get anything from that.
So we wouldn't mind more people following because then we can help more people.
So if you're on here, first thing to do is go ahead and share this live. So I'm going to do that. But what we are gonna talk about is, what do you do when you get injured on the job? And this channel is only for federal employees, not state workers' comp, not anything else,
Not anything else.
just federal employees.
Yeah, and
So-
we say that because we often have people on here going, why am I seeing this?
Yeah.
And my answer to you is, well, unfollow.
Yeah, just unfollow if you're
No
not a
problem.
federal employee, or if you're not a federal employee, and I'm sure you know a federal employee because you see your mailman every day, tell them to come follow us. So we're gonna go over the main things on what to do when you get injured on the job.
All right, fun time's over. I'm gonna get rid of my fun blue sunglasses and put my eyeballs back in. So this is the biggest problem, and I teach federal workers' comp to unions all over the country every year, all the time. We travel more than we're home. Our dogs miss us, but never forget us. And we trained a lot with APWU in the last 2 years, especially in Florida, but in California, and I forget wherever else we're at. We trained a lot of AFGE, which is fantastic. In the past, we did a lot of rural carrier training, but that abruptly stopped due to something we didn't like. And we love NALC and mail handlers. We do a lot of work with the mail handlers as well. And so we do a lot of training around the country, not just here live, but around the country on federal workers' comp. And I've got a training module that I do that's anywhere from 1 to 3 hours long, depending on, what your appetite for this thing is. And 11 out of 10 times that I do this, I get a line of people saying, this is the best training I've ever received. Nobody's ever talked to me in a way that I could understand, and you made it entertaining.
Yeah.
So we like to do that because it's a boring topic. I wrote 4 books on it. This is one of them. I've got, again, 4. And I always tell people, if you read this book and you're entertained, we need to talk because it's a boring subject. And I think that's why so many people struggle with it, because you don't have a training module in your handbooks at work, and your supervisors sure as hell are not telling you what to do, and your unions unfortunately don't know enough about it, although they care a lot. So if you want to know more about it, this is where you come. Like I keep saying, you're in the right place. Tonight I'm going to talk to you about what a federal employee should do when injured at work, and I do this as part of my 3-hour training every time. There's a form called a CA10. All the form numbers on the bottom right corner of all these forms, and I ask for a show of hands every time I'm live in front of an audience of 100 or 200 people or more. And I say, just show of hands, who's ever heard of the CA10? And if 100 people in the room, 5 people raise their hand. And that's a shame because, again, it's called what a federal employee should do when injured at work. Now, does that sound important? It does.
Very.
It sounds very important because it tells you what to do. Well, what we found out through years and years of training is that the number one reason people don't have accepted OWCP injury claims is they don't know how to initiate a claim. The number 2 reason is they can't find a doctor who knows what they're doing in OWCP. And the 3rd reason is they're scared. They literally fear management and the repercussions from filing an injury claim.
And we'll tell you how to find a doctor at the end.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that too, because I can solve all 3 of these problems in this session today. I can teach you what to do, I can tell you where to go, and I can just tell you, don't worry about your supervisors. I have a rule, it's called I don't care what my supervisor thinks, so let's just get that one out of the way. When you're hurt, they sleep fine at night.
Yeah.
You don't have the luxury of caring what they think. And the laws protect you. OWCP was built to protect the federal worker. And unfortunately, supervisors try to get in the way of that. But when you get your claim accepted, you are running the show. And so we're going to talk about that. And before I get into this form, I'll tell you that every year I say this, about 14 to 15% of federal employees nationwide have accepted injury claims.
Yes.
That's not 14 or 15% of the injured people, because they don't publish all the injured people that didn't have their claim accepted, but they tell you who did. And the numbers that did are typically about 14 to 15% of the federal workforce. Well, we also have a company called Federal Injury Centers. Federal Injury Centers is a franchise company. We have a network of medical doctors, chiropractors, physical therapists, occupational therapists, massage therapists. And our purpose is to get your claim accepted, get you better, and get you back to work as soon as medically possible. We're not the company doctor, and we are here because you need us to be here. Everywhere we go, we hear there's not enough doctors. Even if I have a doctor in a state, it's not close enough, but most states don't have any yet, even though we're in almost 30 states.
Yeah.
So that's what we do. If you want to know what Federal Injury Centers is about, go to federalinjurycenters.com. But here's a disclaimer. You're here. I said you're in the right place, and you're there because you need to know about OWCP. You do not have to go to Federal Injury Centers in order to get my help.
No.
We don't require that. We're there as a resource to you, but it's not mandatory for you.
Okay, and a lot of you are already asking, do we have locations in certain areas? Again, go to federalinjurycenters.com, click the big locations tab. It's big, bright and red.
At the top of the page.
You'll be able to find it.
And if you don't see a location, it's because we don't have one.
Yeah, and then you'll see a lot of our offices, they come on here, they say who they are and their name, address, and phone number. So if you see any of the offices on here, just go ahead, message them if they're on here and give them a call.
Yeah, we go to federalinjurycenters.com. At the top of the page, click the locations tab and scroll down. It's all alphabetically by state and then by city. And if you want to know, for example, Kevin, if we have a Federal Injury Centers around South Bend, Indiana, you'll see that the answer is yes, because you'll find the South Bend office there. And of course I have a South Bend office. Look at me.
Yeah, we do not have an office in North Carolina. We are working on it.
We're working on it.
Sorry about that. All right, let's get back into this.
Yeah, so what a federal employee should do when injured at work. So let me start with the bottom of this page. It says post on agency's website. So let's say that you're somebody that never heard of a CA-10 before in your life. What's the likelihood that you're going to go to your agency's website to look up a CA-10?
Most of you don't.
0%, because you've never heard of it. You're not thinking about it. You're not going to your agency's website and going, I bet there's a thing called a CA-10. I'm going to go search for it and read it. So what they've done is made this form invisible to everyone, because if you haven't heard of it, you're not going to find it. You can find this form. I'm looking at it off my phone at federalinjurycenters.com. We have a forms tab. So you can find all the forms that I mentioned on my website. I make it easy for you to find on purpose for educational purposes. But the first section, it's broken down into 6 sections. 6 sections. The first section says, report to supervisor. Boo, who likes talking to their supervisor? And especially, who wants to talk to their supervisor about, I just got hurt at work? Well, the bottom line is you have to do it, but it says, report to your supervisor as soon as possible. Well, that's such a pet peeve of mine, because ask Gini what as soon as possible means to me.
Now.
Now. It means now. As soon as possible, it should say immediately. Now. Report as soon as you're injured, not as soon as possible. Because it's easy to report wherever you're at. You have a cell phone. You just call somebody, text somebody, email somebody.
Yeah.
Now, if it's unfortunate, some people do end up in ambulances or, God forbid, care flight and in an ER, and so it's hard. So as soon as possible means something different to that person. But if you're not, in an emergency situation where you can't use your phone, the answer is report now. Now, the reason that you report now and not as soon as possible is because there is a group of people that I call the rub some dirt on a crowd.
Yeah, you know you guys who you are.
You know who you are. It hurts, but I'm just going to rub some dirt on it because it might be better.
Yes.
Well, if you do that, who knows how long you're going to wait. But let's say you wait a week. You just lost the most important benefit you can have in OWCP because you waited a week to report. Now, let's say you're somebody that waits a month and it's still not better. And after a month, you're just frustrated, you're sick of it, and you say, okay, I'm going to report. You just lost the second most important benefit that you can have in OWCP. You don't have the luxury to wait, because when you wait, you lose very important benefits that are your rights as a federal employee. And so I always ask this, which of your rights as federal employees would you willingly give up today? And nobody's ever said they want to give any up.
You shouldn't give up any, absolutely zero.
But in this case, if you don't report immediately, you run the risk, the very real risk, and we see it all the time, of giving up 2 very important rights as federal employees. And when you give up these 2 rights, this is typically the formula for someone's financial life spiraling out of control.
Correct.
So you must report now, okay? Not as soon as possible, now. I know that's painful. Most of you don't like dealing with your supervisors. I get it. Many of them can be jerks. They're not all jerks. Some of them are okay.
Yeah.
In fact, we know some that are great. That's the exception to the rule, and we know that's why you don't like talking to your supervisors, but you got to do it. So go report now. And I'll just say as a note, I recommend reporting in writing. Text messages are good. Emails are better because you can always prove that you did it, and then never delete those ever, ever, ever. If you text somebody, then screenshot your text and email it to yourself. Like, keep a record of it. because your word against their word is not good for you.
Yeah, I just want to read this real quick from Mary. She said, even though you report it, without Federal Injury Center's help, everything is garbage, garbage, garbage. Sad to say it.
Well, thank you, Mary.
That's really sweet.
And we'll get into why Mary says
Yeah.
that about Federal Injury Centers in a minute. This is not, by the way, this is not a page meant to promote Federal Injury Centers. Federal Injury Centers is there to help you. You're not here for us, we're here for you. So you use this if you want to, but you don't have to. I said that already. Okay, well, the second section of this says obtain medical care. Now, the second section has two very key topics. One, it says get a form CA-16. Well, I ask when I'm in live trainings, who here has heard of a CA-16? Well, fewer people have heard of 16 than have heard of a CA-10.
Right.
And this is the first right that you're going to lose if you don't report now. Because the CA-16 pays all of your health-related bills related to the work injury for the first 60 days after you're hurt. It pays all of your medical-related bills for the first 60 days. But the key is you have to report your injury within 7 days of the injury.
Correct.
And if you don't, by day 8, you no longer have this right. So you've got to report immediately, now, today, get it done, okay? Because you need the CA-16. You have to understand, your injury claim, only 14% of you nationwide have injury claims that are approved. With the CA-16, whether it's approved or not, you never have to pay that money back. That's just, it's free medical care, as it should be. You got hurt at work for a federal agency. So you have to request a CA-16, but unfortunately your supervisors can be jerks.
Yeah. I know a lot of you are asking questions. Just hold.
Oh, we're gonna answer
Till
those.
we're done. It's really short, what he's going over. So we will be answering every question.
Right, so your supervisors have a tendency to be jerks about CA-16s.
They do.
So I have things that I call Chrisisms. They're things that Chris says a lot. And one of those is supervisors are often either dumb or plain dumb.
Or honestly, they just don't know because they
Right.
never got the training.
Right, dumb. So you might have to tell them what a CA-16 is. Show them where to find a CA-16. You have to go to Google and Google OWCP form CA-16. I guarantee you'll find it at
Yes.
APW's website. Thank you very much, APW. I used to have it on my website, but the Department of Labor demanded that I take it down.
Yeah, we got a letter and they told us to take it down. We took it down.
It looked pretty official, so I took it down, but you can still find it out there. You need a form CA-16 to pay all your medical bills for the first 60 days after your injury. You never have to pay that back. And that's critical because your claim's not accepted yet. It may never be, but many injuries are going to get resolved in 60 days anyway. So you can get all the care you need for 60 days paid for by the government, as it should be. The second section, or the second part of section 2 here, says that you have the right to initial selection of physician. That means you get to choose your own doctor. Now, most of you have heard the rumor that your supervisors can tell you where to go. And you've heard supervisors tell you where to go. And some of you are the people where supervisors said you had to go somewhere. But you don't. You can go to any doctor you want to go. You have the right to choose.
Right.
14% of federal workers have accepted injury claims. If you all go where your supervisor sends you to, that's why it's happening. Now, when you come to federal injury centers, more than 95% of our claims are approved. Let that set in for a second.
Like, we have our guy on here, Tim Vanderman, who's a part of the offices in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. He just posted he had 625 claims approved this far.
Yeah, wouldn't you like to be one of them? So, but you have the right to choose your own doctor, and that's critically important because the wrong choice of physician causes denied claims. Most denied claims are the fault of the doctor. They're not your fault. It's the doctor's fault. It's not the claims examiner's fault. It's not even the supervisor's fault. It's your doctor's fault. And so you have the right to choose the right doctor. I'm going to go later and tell you how to find doctors. And I'm not just going to say go to federal injury centers. Some of you don't want to, and some of you can't. If you're in Nebraska, you can't go to federal injury centers. So I'm going to tell you to find somebody.
Plus, while he's on the doctors, do not go to your primary care doctor. They will not know what to do.
Right, unless your primary care doctor is willing to learn.
Yeah.
And willing to do whatever you tell them to do, you're going to have to do better than that.
During the holiday time, while we were off, we had so many people message us and tell us that, you know, they went to their primary care doctor and they would show me their narrative. It's a 1-page consultation.
That's not a narrative.
That's not going to work it. So your primary care doctor will not know how to write a perfect narrative report to get submitted and accepted by Department of Labor.
Yeah, and again, over 95% of ours are accepted. That's what I call a clue.
Yes.
So the second section says get a CA-16 to pay your medical bills for 60 days and choose your own doctor. Okay, section number 3 says to file your injury claim. So in the first section, you reported it to your supervisor, and that is the key to getting your CA-16. And the third section says to go to ECOMP. It's ecomp.dol.gov. And you create an account. It's simple. It's 2 pages on your computer. You can do it on your phone. It's really, really easy. They ask for information you absolutely know, like your date of birth and social and address, an email and your name. You mostly probably all know your name. And so you just put this stuff in that you know really good, and then you create an account. And from there, you click the CA1 button. A CA1 is the form you fill out to report an injury that happened today. Or the CA2 button, which is the form you fill out for an injury that developed over time. And the CA1 is eligible for the CA-16, the CA2 is not. And right now, if you're new at this, you're like, you keep spouting out CAs and numbers and it's confusing. Tell me about it. That's why you're here. It is confusing. And that's why you need to understand this stuff, because most people don't.
Right.
So Form CA1 is what you fill out to report an injury or file an injury claim that happened in a single shift. And a Form CA2 is what you fill out to file an injury claim that developed over time. And those examples of that are like carpal tunnel syndrome, low back pain,
Low back, knee
knee
pain.
osteoarthritis. Those things develop over time generally. By the way, I'm not a doctor, neither one of us is, but we work with a lot of doctors.
We have our own injuries.
We have our own injuries. I just had injections yesterday for my back, so we have them. You look like you want to say something.
No.
Oh, okay. No, I don't. Reminds me of an old Saturday Night Live clip.
No, what I was gonna say now that.
Oh, so you were.
Yeah, I was gonna say something. Like he said, he's shouting out CA this, CA that. As the year progresses, we are going to be covering in depth each of these forms, so pay attention. You can always come back. All of our videos are saved. If your friends don't like social media, have them go on YouTube and watch us. We answer all the questions. So don't worry if you don't know what a form is. He is going to explain what he's going over right now.
Just a note to people that are new here. If you're watching me and you're like, what is Chris looking at? Let me just tell you. I have a laptop here where I can see the
And we have a
screen.
TV up
I
there.
can see all your comments. I have a camera right there where I can see us, so I know what we're looking at. And then I've got a TV up there that's just a larger image of my laptop, and I find myself like an ADD kid just like looking at it. Sorry about that. I'll try not to look up there too much, but it's easy for me to see that stuff with my blind eyes. All right, so we're on the third section, ecomp.dol.gov, and you're filling out your CA1 and your CA2 to report your injury to Department of Labor. Now, what happens here is you fill out page 1, and it's not hard stuff, okay? It's all answers or questions you know the answers to. And then your supervisor fills out page 2, because when you're finished with your page, it emails the supervisor. So remember to get your supervisor's correct email address.
Yes.
And then when they receive it, they have 10 days to turn it in. In other words, to just complete it and submit it. They have 10 days by law. If it takes 11 days, you should talk to your union and file a grievance, because they're delaying your care. They have 10 days. Now, they only have to fill out 1 page also. If it takes them 10 days to fill out 1 page,
Yeah.
we need to send them back to 2nd grade.
Yeah, and there won't be any union bashing on here. We don't bash them.
Never.
If they're not helping you file these grievances, you need to go to the next step. Who is above your union president? Find out.
And let me explain why there's not union bashing here, because people say, oh, look, you're in the union's back pocket. No, and they're not in mine either, but I just have the reality of what it takes to get a claim accepted and to navigate this system. And what I found out is the union is the muscle behind what you need when your supervisors are trying to screw you over. And so I'll be the last person to bash on your union, because I need them to be fighting for you instead of fighting with me. That doesn't help anybody.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to do it. I love your unions. And if someone is weak, we'll just send you to the next level up, because somebody is strong. And there's weakness everywhere. There's weakness, not in my company, but in a lot of places there's weakness. But in your unions, there's always strong people. You'll find them if you look for them.
Just ask.
Yeah.
And please go to the union for help for stuff.
It's
like
going to be
this.
important, because you're going to
Yes.
hear me a lot say file a grievance. Well, I can't do that for you. I'm not a union member. I wish I was. if I could be an honorary union member out there, I would absolutely accept that. That would be an honor to me.
I remember Mr. Kelly talking about that, we should do it.
It would be
We're waiting.
if that were ever offered to me, I would take it in a heartbeat. I wouldn't even hesitate. All right, but back on the econ. So you have to fill out this form. Your supervisor has 10 days to fill out a piece of paper and get that sent in to OWCP. So the next section says, how you want to get paid? It says submit a claim for COP and or compensation for wage loss. COP stands for continuation of pay. When you report your CA1 injury within 30 days, and you did because you reported it now, then you're eligible for continuation of pay, which gives you up to 45 calendar days of time off. Now, I'll tell you, this is just sort of a Federal Injury Center's disclaimer. We're not interested in you being out of work. We're interested in you being at work. And it's not because we're the company doctor, because we're not. Believe me, your supervisor's worst enemy is me. We do not have many supervisor friends.
No.
I bash them, I talk bad about them because they do bad things to you. And they're the common enemy.
Yeah,
and I admit that, and they know it. And even our friends who are supervisors understand my position on it.
Yeah, out of the 2.8 million federal employees, we probably know 20 supervisors, and that's that. And they're great.
And we love them.
Yeah.
And we wish everybody would be just like them because they're a model of how it should be done. I have a management background. I know how to do management. My turnover rate since I was 24 years old has been less than 5%. You can't beat it because I just love everybody.
Yeah.
But your supervisors don't. And so that makes me want to hurt them. Anyways, 45 calendar days of time off is COP.
Yes.
If you report your injury, your CA1 claim within 30 days, you're eligible for that. And we want you to go back to work. But if you need to be out of work, do you want to use your own sick time and annual leave?
No.
No, because you might get the flu and you might want to go on vacation, and we need that to be available to you. So COP is good for you. We were training a group of Department of Labor, and in that group were some claims examiners. And the president of this AFGE group was a senior claims examiner.
Yes.
He was fantastic. He taught me something there that I never thought of. While I was teaching the group, he out loud taught me something.
Yeah, he did.
Which was awesome. And he said, Chris, you should tell everybody to elect COP in box 15A of the CA1. You should tell everybody to elect COP because worst case scenario is they choose sick and annual leave now. And then they use their sick and annual leave now. But if they take COP, they'll have up to 45 calendar days of time off. And if the claim is not accepted, then DOL will just come and take your sick and annual leave. Well, let them take it. Don't just give it. Look, I'm a Texan. We have a saying that says, come and take it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is your sick and annual leave. Come and take it. I'm not just going to give it to you. So elect a COP. If everything fails, they'll come and take your sick and annual leave. All right, that's just how it's going to go. But don't give it to them willingly.
Do not.
Don't give it to them. But if you don't need the time off, even better, go back to work. That's even better. Because another criticism, the surest way to get paid is to clock in. And that's why I'm such a heavy proponent of you going back to work. Because the biggest problem in an OWCP work injury is not the injury. The biggest problem is the fallout. It's how do I pay my rent? My kids have school tuition. I need to eat. I got to put gas in my car. And if your claim's not accepted and you're not getting paid, how are you doing that? So now you've got to make the really tough decision to go back to work hurt. You really can't do the job. Now your supervisor's on your ass because you're falling behind. And it just spirals out of control from there. And now there's this huge problem inside the office. So what we're trying to do is make it to where you don't have any of those problems. And that's why I want you to get back to work as soon as possible. The surest way to get paid is to clock in.
Yeah, our doctors are not going to give you, just because you say you want some extra time off, they're not going to give you time off to take vacation. It's been happening.
Yeah, OWCP is not a vacation, and that's not good for you. But the reason we're saying this is because the government gives you this right. It's called COP, continuation of pay. So elect it, use it if you need it.
Right.
But if you don't need it, go to work because, man, I'm telling you, I've seen all the problems from people that can't work.
Yeah, don't abuse what you have because you guys have amazing benefits. Don't abuse it.
And you didn't want to get hurt anyways.
Yeah.
But this isn't a lecture to you. It's just this is education based on, by the way, now almost 7,000 injury claims that we've worked on with this company, and I've seen it all. And most people say, I wish I could just get back to work.
Yep.
But you have that right, and it's called COP, and we think you should elect it every time you report your injury within 30 days. and you all will now because you reported today. So the next section says medical billing. It says medical providers must blah, blah, blah. Who cares?
You shouldn't care.
You don't need to care about your doctors. We work with hundreds of doctors, and I'll tell you, they're doing fine.
Well, first of all, what he means by that is, especially our doctors, you shouldn't worry if you happen to go to any of our offices and you're concerned about what do I have to pay, there's nothing you have to pay out of pocket for your MRI, for going to an orthopedic surgeon, or even to be seen in our office and getting the therapy you need. $0 comes out of your pocket.
Yeah, we've never taken a penny from anyone ever. And that's our rule. And that, as a franchise, we're able to do that because I'm able to set the rules.
Right.
It's my company.
All they do is bill the Department of Labor. When you get that case number on that page after you submit your claim, that is a number you need to take everywhere with you. That is just like your commercial insurance ID, member ID number. That's it.
So I'm going to talk more about federal injury centers in just a minute. This is not a sales presentation, but some of you out there are surely saying, what is this company about?
Right.
So I'm going to tell you in a minute, but on this CA10, don't worry about medical billing. If you go to the right place, it won't be a problem for you anyways.
Correct.
However, let's say you go to the hospital, they don't know how to bill OWCP. You're going to have to make sure they have your claim number. It's going to be a problem. You're going to get a bill from them.
A lot of you complain about that, we know.
You're going to get bills from urgent cares, ERs. It's just, there's a lot of places that are going to bill you. In a minute, I'll talk to you about how we don't, but
yeah,
that is relevant to you, but that the doctor gets paid is not your problem.
It's not.
If they do a good job, they'll get paid. I guarantee it.
And we are only talking about our offices, not other offices, because we don't know what they say or do. But you should not be
I look pretty
billing.
good.
You should not be paying for your federal work comp.
Correct. All right, last section says contacting OWCP. It says if you have any questions regarding your claim, you can contact OWCP at this phone number or that phone number. All right, here's what's going to happen if you call that number. Most of the time, nobody's going to answer. And that's okay.
Voicemail.
That's okay. People get so frustrated. I've called over and over and over. Nobody ever answers. Don't do that. Do this instead. Call, leave a voicemail. Understand this. Every voicemail is transcribed into a document. Every document must be responded to, and almost all responses will be in writing.
Yes.
So you will get a response. It will be frustrating at times, but I'm going to say words that I do never apply to myself. Be patient.
Yeah, because even the claims examiner that Chris was talking about, they actually told us, several of them said, have them leave one message, we will return their call. You have to remember, you guys are 2.8 million of you. They're not that many.
There's probably hundreds of them,
Yeah.
not millions.
Yeah, and they have so
They're buried.
many patients that they have to deal with on a daily basis. So every time you keep calling, your call gets pushed back.
And by the way, they're federal employees too,
They
so
are.
they're at the same level you are, and they're just like doing the best they can to stay above water and do their job. And
Yeah.
many of you know how that feels,
Exactly.
especially like postal employees during the winter or during the Christmas season,
Yes.
just trying to stay head above water. So I think, in my vision, that's how claims examiners are as well. I think they're just buried in claims, and there's not enough of them. Hopefully that changes. But leave a voicemail; it'll get handled. If like a month later you haven't heard anything, leave another voicemail.
Or
you can always
email them.
You can. Well, I don't know if you can. It doesn't give you that option on the CA10.
Get your claims examiner email if you ever have to talk to them.
Yeah, if you can, that'd be great. Or talk to the supervisor and leave a voicemail there. You will get help eventually, but frustration doesn't solve any problems. So leave voicemails.
Correct.
So that is the Form CA10. It is so simple the way I explained it to you. You should get a copy and post it in your workstation, your break rooms. You should post a CA10. As Jerry Gatewood, our good friend in Virginia, said, you can even post them on the inside of bathroom stalls, whatever it takes, so people will see this form. Because it's hidden, it's invisible on your agency's website. You're not going there to find a form you never heard of. So that's that. Before you ask any questions, let's do that at the end. I'm going to just briefly explain what Federal Injury Centers is.
Yeah.
I don't want you to take this as a sales presentation because I do want you to come back. This is a place you come for education. This is how you learn how to navigate the system. What we found, and what I found years ago, I started doing federal workers' comp in 2007 at a private practice in Texas, where I'm from. And we were the most prolific federal workers' comp practice in the history of the world. And we only helped 360 people a year out of 2.8 million federal employees. We were the biggest and baddest federal work comp practice in the world. And we were only helping hundreds of people, not thousands, tens of thousands, or hundreds
Correct.
of thousands. And what I found out is this isn't big enough. We can do better.
Yes.
And so after 21 years, I left there, and my, at time, business consultant, Joe, called me up at home the day I left and said, all right, Chris, are you ready to get started? I said, with what? He goes, your idea. And I didn't have an idea.
Yeah.
And he said, federal workers' comp, Chris, I think you're the best in the world at this.
And here we are.
And here we are.
Almost 70 locations.
That was 2015.
Yeah.
That was 2015. And so Joe and I got started. We picked up another partner along the way, Tom. Tom learned workers' comp faster than anybody I've ever seen learn workers' comp.
Yeah.
And in the worst circumstances. Tom won't mind me saying he was pretty sick at the time.
Yeah.
And from bed learned FICA. And so now we have the greatest team assembled ever of federal workers' comp professionals, experts. And what we did is we created a franchise of doctors, because I realized your biggest problem outside of being scared and not knowing what to do is not having anywhere to go if you're not scared and you do know what to do.
Yes.
So what we did is we created this franchise called Federal Injury Centers. We have nearly now 70 locations about to come online.
And we have probably about 7 attorneys.
Yes, 7 lawyers. We're the most compliant healthcare company in the history of the world as well. I was on the phone with 7 lawyers yesterday.
Everything we do, we run it past our attorney.
Everything. We got healthcare lawyer, franchise lawyer, compliance lawyers. We got litigation lawyers, other healthcare lawyers in other states. Like, we're all over the place doing this because we have to be. Because federal work comp has been littered with fraud over the years and decades and years. And we said, look, we're going to be different than that. Yeah. We're going to make sure that never happens, because we don't want our patients looking over their shoulders when they want to come to a doctor. So that's where we are in this whole thing. We have offices in, I think, nearly 30 states now. Yeah. We're really excited. We have new offices opening in the next 90 days. We have at least, I think, a dozen offices that are coming online, which is exciting, because last year I think we only brought on like 3 new offices, and the year before maybe 2. We really kind of stabilized at 50 for a little while. So now we're getting real big. Yeah. And we're doing that because we keep hearing people say, we need an office here. We need an office here. When are you going to bring an office here? The biggest complaint we get as a company is that we don't have an office near you. Most companies have complaints like, somebody treated me bad, or the doctor was bad, or the wait time was too long. Our biggest complaint is, why aren't you here?
But the thing is, it is not us. It is finding the doctors, because when the doctors listen to our spiel and find out what they have to do, they say, this is not for me.
Yeah, doctors don't want to help you.
Yeah.
And you should know that already, because you can't find any doctors to help you. So that's another clue, right?
Dealing with federal work comp for these doctors, it's not easy. We tell you the truth, it is not easy.
It's hard. A lot of doctors have really funny quirks, like really funny ones, and I'm being nice. Really nice. And it's hard. Like, and you don't need to feel sorry for us. We're doing fine, but like, we get like 100 no's to every 1 yes to bring a doctor on. You wouldn't believe the marketing budget we have just to find doctors.
Yes.
And to get on the phone with doctors going, nah, I don't want to do this. I don't want to hire an MD. Nah, I only have like, I don't know, 900 square feet. We don't have enough room for
They
this.
just don't budge.
It's unbelievable, the incompetency out there and the cowardice in the healthcare field.
They like the concept, but they don't want to do the work. And in this program, there's a lot of work, a lot of moving parts, a lot of employees you have to hire, from doctors to nurse practitioners to chiropractors to physical therapists, massage therapists, case managers, marketing people. And when they hear all that, all they see is dollar signs going in the toilet, and it's not going in the toilet. Yeah. So
it's tough, but we have managed to grow, I think, the largest federal workers' comp practice in the history of the world. I keep saying that, but my philosophy is, if you're going to do it big. And if it's going to be big, make it the biggest. Yes. And ours is, we have never had a compliance issue ever.
Nope.
Okay, I guess that's not true. We had a couple of franchisees that thought they could break some rules, but they don't work with us anymore. We kicked them out.
The minute a franchisee decides to do something that is not in our book and on our compliance book, they immediately are shut down. That's it. No questions. You're getting shut down.
But that is, thank God, a small fraction. The vast majority don't have those problems because we teach compliance fanatically. But we get cases accepted at record pace. I said we've helped almost 7,000 people already since we started this franchise in 2020. That's not enough, but that is because not enough people still know about us.
Right.
And that's your job. You've got to tell people that, hey, there's this office out here called Federal Injury Centers. Check them out. Go to Wednesday night OWCP chats because Chris and Gini are teaching you and helping you answer your questions and solving your problems. So that's what we do. We're a franchise. We follow all the same rules that McDonald's follows, Chick-fil-A, the Joint Chiropractic.
Yeah.
The federal government requires franchisees to follow more rules than just a private practitioner. We have way more rules. You wouldn't believe the book of rules we have to follow that the standard franchise or a private practitioner does not have to follow.
Yeah.
And we've got to also get registered in all the states we work in. So now each of the states requires something different. They have to approve us to work in their state.
And it's a very long years sometimes to get into a state. Like we're dealing with some right now that's been in the works for years.
And then we have to follow state medical guidelines,
Yep.
chiropractic physical therapy guidelines. We got to follow federal medical chiropractic physical therapy guidelines. We follow many of the Medicare guidelines. We are required we hold ourselves at such a high level because we're required to maintain our registrations and our license in these states. So you can feel comfortable being at a federal injury centers. With that said, I want to tell you how to find a doctor if there's not a federal injury centers.
Correct.
Or if you're watching this and you're like, I don't trust that guy with a Notre Dame hat on.
No.
All you have to do is go to Google and search OWCP injury doctor in your city and state. And any doctor that wants to help you will be found.
Yeah.
Because their website will have stuff about OWCP on it. So OWCP injury doctor, city and state, and you can find another office. You do not have to come to us, but what you have to know is the second part of the CA10 says you have to choose the right to choose your own doctor. And I think you need to do that we believe in that so wholeheartedly. It doesn't have to be us, but you can't just go where your supervisor sends you. You have to exercise your rights. Don't give up any of them. And the most important right you have is the right to choose your own doctor. We're here because you need us to be, but feel free to go someplace else. Believe me, if that doctor fails, you'll call me later.
Yeah, and remember, our rules in our franchise is not what we tell other people and other doctors. So whatever their rules and what they tell you to do has nothing to do with federal injury centers. What we do is what we do. You can't, some of you will call and say, I'm at this location, but they're not doing it like the way Chris taught. Unfortunately, we can't go and tell that doctor.
That's not my office.
That's not our office.
I can't make them follow my rules,
Yeah.
but ours follow my rules real good.
Yeah, we're sorry about that.
Yeah.
If it's a doctor that is interested, that you're seeing and that wants to become a part of our team, just tell them to email me at info@federalinjurycenters.com and we'll go from there.
Now, with all that said, we have questions.
Yes.
And now, Jeannie's going to start at the top. If she misses your question, don't feel bad. Just ask it again because we don't want to miss your questions. Every week we're here, we answer every question. And we have 11 minutes. We're happy to go over if that's what it takes. So,
Maria, she said, thank you for the Auburn office. That saves me 2 hours drive. Oh,
yeah, that's Auburn,
good.
Massachusetts. We're really happy, Maria, that you've got a closer place to go now.
Yes, we do have federal injury centers in South Bend, Indiana.
Go Irish.
And that is with Dr.
Courage.
Great doctor.
He's such a good guy.
Let's see. I definitely started a claim this afternoon.
All right, good. I hope it's the same day that you got injured, and I'm sorry you got hurt.
Sonia, happy new 2025, guys.
Yeah, happy New Year.
PNDC.
All right.
Mary. Okay. Maria, I posted the CA10 in our office.
Yeah, and again, let me stress this. All of you should print a CA10 off my website, federalinjurycenters.com. Go to the Forms tab and print a few CA10s and post them in your office.
Here's a great question from Sonia. Who's supposed to complete a CA17 first? Is the supervisor side A or your physician side B? My agency refuses to bring me back to work until my physician completes side B.
Sonia, what comes first, A or B? That's a joke, and it's not a knock on you, it's a criticism.
Yeah.
So for everyone else that's new, a CA17 is called a duty status report. This is how your doctor takes you off of work, sends you back to work, or writes restrictions so you can go to work on restrictions. Side A says supervisor, side B says physician. And if you read the rules on the second page of the CA17, it says that it has to originate with the supervisor. They fill out side A, and then you take it to your doctor who fills out side B, and then you take it back to your supervisor who will then consider that for restriction so you can get back to work and clock in.
Frank, good evening, welcome back.
What's up, Frank?
Thank you. We have, let's see.
I'm looking up there again. That probably freaks people out.
How
Not looking
those-
down here.
How those, the supervisor completes SEA 17, okay.
Yeah, so the supervisor fills out side A. It's all about your physical requirements of your job. The supervisors have that stuff in writing. It's not that hard for them. But remember, Don, we're playing dumb.
Okay, Walters would love to see a FIC have a branch to help with this. Let us know where you're actually at.
Yeah.
And don't forget, I just pinned our website for the locations tab. I just pinned it to the bottom. So just go to the tab. If it is not on there, we do not have one.
Yet.
Do I need to get a personal lawyer to handle my case?
No.
No, Stephanie.
Okay, so that's Stephanie. I'm glad you asked that. So a lot of people tell their coworkers, you need to lawyer up. I don't know where that came from. Lawyer up. That must be like from a TV show or something. There's almost no reason to get a lawyer in OWCP, thankfully. Two common reasons are because you're in a car wreck, but then you need a federal lawyer, not a PI lawyer. And another reason would be for a schedule award, which I'm not going into today, but a schedule award often requires a lawyer. There are other reasons, but those are the two main reasons. We don't send people to lawyers because most people think they need a lawyer because they can't get their claim accepted. What you really need is a doctor who can, and that's what we do.
Here's a reason we'll only send you to an attorney. OPM disability, so federal accidents, if you were rear-ended and you were in your federal vehicle, including an LLV, a roll carrier, then we'll tell you, you need to get a federal attorney because a state PI attorney will get this screwed up. Trust me, we've seen it, we've heard it.
Yeah, we're not going to go into that. We will have a whole thing on third-party injuries. We teach all year long, so we'll have a whole class on it.
Schedule awards, we tell everybody, go to Eric Flowers because he's best at it.
He's the best in the world.
So those are basically, if you have a claim that's not being able to get accepted, it's probably the doctor's fault, not anything else. And don't blame your claims examiner. Any offices in Georgia? We have a few, yes. Nick Wayne, I've been going to federal injury centers in Greenville. I have reached MMI and got an impairment rating. I filed for my schedule award. I now got a letter wanting me to see a second opinion. Do I have to do this? And what happens if their doctor comes up with something completely different from the one I used at federal injury centers? Do I have to go there? Do I have to go by their doctor's opinion? I don't mind doing things right, but I don't want to get screwed over by the other PO either.
So Nick, first of all, being at the Greenville, South Carolina office, I don't have to tell you, that was a good decision. They're freaking good. Second opinion doctors, you are required to go. This is the rule. When a claim examiner sends you to one, you have to go. If you don't go, they'll cut your benefits off until you decide to change your mind.
Yeah.
So go do that. The way this works is the claim examiner weighs the medical evidence from your doctor, which does a good job, or the second opinion doctor, and whichever one, in their opinion, weighs the most is what they go by.
Yeah.
Oftentimes those are similar or equal, and they'll send you to a referee doctor, which is typically someone that's found on a board certified list on the internet. They just send them to a board certified doctor. You have to go to that one too. So what you need is your physician, your treating physician, to have great medical documentation. I know you do because I know your physician. But for those of you out there that don't have that same physician, that's what's required. You need great medical documentation to combat what the second opinion doctor says, because all too often the second opinion doctor's job is to kill the case.
Yeah.
Not that they mean to, but that's what ends up happening for a lot of reasons, right? So anyways, you have to go. And I recommend also when you go to a second opinion visit, you take things like take a CA-17, take a CA-20, which is like a medical narrative, and then take your doctor's narrative and hand it directly to the second opinion doctor. Don't give it to the receptionist or the nurse or the MA. Hand it directly to the doctor. Now, they may refuse to take it, but that way you give them something valuable to look at because there's a good chance they won't see it otherwise. The other thing is know that they're answering very specific questions that the claims examiner asks. And I think you should ask the doctor, what questions are they asking you to answer?
Yeah.
Because they're going to spend 5
Sure.
minutes with you and not tell you. So ask the doctor, what questions are the claims examiners asking you to answer? And then get involved in that conversation with the doctor. Be an active participant in the visit. Don't revere the doctor. They're not gods. So get involved with this visit. And the other thing I'll tell you to do is take detailed notes, like really detailed notes. And I mean, I arrived at 9:52 a.m. I was brought back by the nurse at 10:02 a.m.
Yeah.
The doctor arrived in the room at 10:13 a.m. and left the room at 10:17. And here's what happened in the visit. Be truthful. Don't be opinionated. Be truthful. But then document this and e-comp it to your claims examiner. They need to know what happened in this visit.
Yeah.
That's important.
Julie, is there a limit for a schedule award? Yeah, you can file a schedule award till the day you die.
Yeah,
I hate to say that, but that's how Eric says it.
Yeah, a time limit for schedule award is life. As long as you're still breathing, you can file for schedule award. As long as your claim is ever accepted.
Mr. Chi Diaz, yes, my injury happened today. I just found 2 locations near me in Tampa. Good for you.
I'll bet I know who they are.
Well, we don't have any locations in Tampa.
Near Tampa.
Let's see, Tara, I'm going to do a CA2 for my shoulder. Do I still do a CA16?
No, CA16 is only valid for a CA1 injury that happened in a single shift. Great question, Tara.
Ellis Walters, we do not have a location in North Carolina yet. Is there a doctor in MN? Minnesota, do we have one yet?
No, we're working on one.
Okay. It's actually Ronaldo, it's actually Eric Blowers.
It's like Flowers, but with a B, but
Yeah.
feel free to call them Flowers for my amusement.
Go Longhorns, Princeton, Texas here. I disown Chris. I can't look at that ND gear. Thanks, Lewis.
Hold on a minute. Now, Lewis, I don't know your name, but I graduated from Princeton High School in 1993, so take it easy. We're from the same alma mater, man.
He says, how long can someone be off on work comp?
I've seen people be off decades. There's not a rule on that. The key is get back as soon as possible because your life is better when you're clocking in because you don't have to jump through hoops to get paid.
Right.
Click over here. There you go. All right. Just keep scrolling there. Quit using this side.
No, no.
Over there. You keep doing that. I have this mouse pad. You go to the right side, it's like right click. The left side is left click. She loves the right side. She likes right clicking.
Ronaldo, I've only been off this long because of complications that just keep piling up, but I haven't heard a single word from the Postal Service at all.
Well, you may have to initiate that too. And don't forget, you have unions that are like really great for you. So work with them.
I don't know if I can stand this. It's so annoying.
Go to the next one. What did you click? All right, what's the next question? Anything?
Okay,
now we're back.
Sonia said, I've been off since August, been cleared to return back to work, but not. I'm getting OWCP benefits, but I want to go back to work. I wrote my grievance and filed an EEOC against the agency while it's in the pre-hearing process.
Well, and that's not really a question, but I like that. You have other options. EEOC, equal employment is an option. Labor board charges, which are really good for your union to help with. Grievances. These are all important tools that you've got in your tool bag to help combat what your agency, your supervisors do to you.
All right, there was a question on this side. Let me go on over to here. Melissa. Ron Burgundy, fix your mic. Okay, Melissa said if you
said that?
Who else would say that?
Robert.
Melissa said, if you get an injury approved and you re-agitate it, what form do you use, a CA1 or a CA2?
If you have an injury approved and then it is made worse or re-agitated, as you said, it's actually called a CA2A. So get a CA2A, notice of reoccurrence. But you want to go to your doctor first and make sure it's not a new injury. Don't just assume it's the same thing.
Yeah.
I like to use the knee as an example because I have a really bad knee with lots of torn ligaments and reconstructed ligament. And there are 4 ligaments, tendons, muscles, bones. I think that's about it. And unless you've got x-ray vision, I don't know how you know what's going on inside of there, right? So go to the doctor first and make sure it's not a new injury. When your doctor confirms that it is just an exacerbation of the old injury, then fill out a CA2A. If it's a new injury, fill out a CA1 or CA2 based on how it happened.
Nick said, thanks for answering my question. I tried to take notes while you were talking. Does this broadcast stay up so I can hear your answers again? Y'all are awesome and thanks. Yes. All of our videos from since
16.
2016 are there. There is like over 2,000 videos.
We've never deleted it.
Yeah.
It's there for you. Deleting it would be a disservice to you.
Ronaldo, I have a question. If you guys have the time, if I cannot return to full duty, or if I'm even out longer than I have been, can they let me go? Or can they place me on another position? I'm sorry, that's 2 questions. I never really had any luck in my station at all. My boss, well, was a bit much in every possible way, making my life a living heck.
So they can take your position from you. They can require you to go to sort of retraining. So you go to another position. You could even go to another agency. You could end up on disability, which is, to me, a disaster.
Yeah.
I think you need to stay in really close contact with your union about this, because your union is going to be, like I said, they're the muscle. They can help fight for your job.
Yeah.
And that's what they're there for. You pay dues for them to fight for your job, for every aspect of it. And they take pride in that. So I want you to go speak to them.
All right, last question, Mr. Thompson. I've been off for about 3 years, just had back surgery, but my office keeps sending me paperwork for a PDI.
Yeah, well, I'd fill that out. Like, you can't ignore this stuff. Get with your union, okay? You got to do that. But if you ignore it, they're just going to do other things to you, so don't ignore it.
How do you know if you're given a good percentage rating, a good percentage?
Okay, how do you know if you're given a good impairment rating, a good percentage?
Oh, yeah.
A good, so I'm not a doctor. I'm not an impairment rating expert. I know the rules of impairment ratings, but I do not know how to calculate them because I'm not a doctor. How do you know if you have a good one? You could always get a second opinion from Eric Blowers, the attorney Eric Blowers. He's very good at this, probably the best in the world at it. And outside of that, I don't know how you know if you have a good impairment rating. You may like the percentage quite a bit.
All right, last question.
Another last question.
How long does it usually take to get compensated after filing CA7? I have about 4 to 5 forms that are stuck on either entitled or developed. Thanks for your help. Remember, when you fill out your CA7s, your claim must be accepted first.
Yeah, so once your claim is approved, you start turning in CA7s. And the best thing I can tell you is I saw correspondence from a claims examiner who told an injured worker to turn their CA7s in once every 2 weeks so they can be paid regularly. So that leads me to believe you should be paid every 2 weeks or once a month. Excuse me, or once a month. But you should turn them in every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And they're done by e-comp now, so it's a lot easier. You're just doing it on a computer.
Kevin, and everybody on here, I don't know if you know this, for all the new folks on here, you have 3 years to report your injury from the date it happened. So Kevin, Woody, you just got injured on the 25th. You have 3 years to report it. As Chris said at the beginning, report it now.
Report it now. You do have 3 years, but look, the time frames are really confusing. In fact, I'm going to read them a paragraph out of my book. This is my first book, okay? I have a chapter called Time Frames, and it's page 58. And I just want to read this. So here's what happened. I wrote these books called Breaking OWCP. And when the COVID lockdown first hit in 2020, Gini and I were flying 54 times every 52 weeks, training you. And just like that, we were done.
Yeah.
You were not done. What were they calling federal employees? You were
Essential.
essential workers. We were not essential, although I think it is essential that you know what we do. And so I was listening to a book, an audio book, and this guy, Gary Vee, who I really like, he's a marketing guy. He was talking about this consulting trip he did, where he told this guy, "You mean you don't even have a book?" I hit pause and started writing a book.
He did. In 3 days, he was done.
And 3 days later, this book was done. I had it at the printer, and a week after that, I had 1,000 copies. And on this book, it's this particular chapter is called Time Frames. And I'm just going to read this one paragraph because it's that confusing. So I said, first, and really just for my amusement, and I was probably delirious because for 3 days I didn't sleep, I'll give you the confusing version. You have 7 days to report your injury and still be eligible for a CA16. But as long as you report within 30 days, you can still be eligible for COP. The CA16 is good for 60 days from the date of injury, and COP is good for 45 days. That's 45 calendar days, not consecutive days. Although you have 7 days for the CA16 and 30 days for the 45 days of COP, you actually have 3 years from the date of injury to report a CA1 claim, and 3 years from the date you knew it was work-related to report a CA2 claim. Of course, most claims are denied. You have 12 months from each denial to file for reconsideration. Got it? It's confusing.
Yeah.
And that's why you come here, okay? Because OWCP is confusing.
Yeah, and you guys are like wondering, what is he talking about, this training? Okay, so not only do we do Wednesday night chats every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, there will be Wednesdays we are not on here because we are traveling to actually come and train you in person. And what I mean by that is unions contact me and we come out and we train for 3 to 4 hours, and we train you from the minute you get injured all the way to when you get a scheduled award if you got into an accident. It's a 3 to 4 hour training. We bring fun stuff, some goodies, some books if we have it. We answer all your federal work comp questions. We're there, we get to hang out with you guys, and it's been great for the last 10 years almost.
Yeah, we really love it.
So if you guys want us to come and train your union, we do state conventions and national conventions. Please email me. And Jacqueline, here's my email, info@federalinjurycenters.com.
That's an S on the end of Federal Injury Centers because we had 70 of them, not one.
We do not charge for this training. Again, it is a 3 to 4 hour training. The full training lasts that long with Q&A and whatnot. So if you are planning your state convention this year, your national convention, if you'd like us to come and train, again, it is a free training. We will come. It's first come, first serve. So get us on your calendar. We are already getting booked up already for the year. So with that said, thank you guys for being on here tonight. It's our first night back, and we will see you guys next Wednesday, and I'll end it with you.
Okay, so many of you may be new here, and I'm showing you this. These are the 4 books that I wrote. You are not here for me to sell books. I don't care if you buy them.
Yeah.
I mean that very sincerely. But I wrote 4 of these books. I mean, I like that people have these books. I think it's super helpful. Everyone says it's the best books they ever read on the topic. But these are the 4. And I just want everyone to know that in 2025, I've got a book coming out that is a culmination of all 4 of those books combined, including new content. And I expect to have that out no later than June, and it'll be available to the public at that point. But it will be the final chapter. I will never write another book on OWCP after this book is complete. And because I'm not going to be here forever.
Correct.
Unfortunately, I won't be around forever. I'm going to be 50 years old soon. I'm not going to be here forever. But OWCP's been around since 1916. It's probably not going anywhere. And so long after I'm gone, the ultimate guide to how to navigate OWCP will still be here. So keep an eye out for that. We will absolutely promote it, and you'll all have an opportunity to get the book.
So if there's any topics you guys want us to train you on here live every Wednesday, go ahead and comment below. And if we did not answer any of your questions, we will do so after. So with that said, welcome everyone back to Wednesday Night OWCP Chats 2025. We will see you guys next year.